I know what you're thinking. Oh, here comes some half-baked video comparing Destiny and Warframe again. It's not like we haven't seen a million of those before. And to that I say, you're partially right. I'm not half-baked though. I'm fully baked, like a loaf of bread finally achieving greatness in the oven. Now don't get me wrong, I do not smoke. Makes me paranoid. I'm just a little naturally off in the head. I would like to lay down some ground rules though. First rule, do not insult either game. That is not what this is about. Second rule, keep comments fairly civil. There's a lot of animosity between the two game communities, and some of it rightfully so, but I'm working on bridging that gap. Third rule, sub to the YouTube. Come on, you know you want to. It's a scientific fact that those who sub have 4% more girth. If you do sub, here's a sneak peek to my next video. Where did Destiny go wrong when Warframe got it right? So make sure to subscribe and turn notifications on for that video so you can share your thoughts and opinions. Before I get started, for those of you who've never seen my videos before, I am StickyMZ. Hello, I am one of the largest Destiny TikTokers and have been doing Destiny lore and news for 4 years. With the potential ban of TikTok, it would mean a lot if you all help me grow this YouTube. I will be bouncing back and forth between Destiny and Warframe content, but I really want to grow this page with several games. Expect a lot of Borderlands content when 4 comes out. Huge Borderlands fan. I'm really hoping to make a better bridge between the two gaming communities. There are already a large overlap of players who play both, but man, are there some toxic people on both sides. I saw the toxic side of Warframe a year ago and discussed it in my Warframe's biggest hater turned fan video. But even the worst I've seen so far of the Warframe community pales in comparison to the worst of the Destiny community. I have yet to see anyone say they want to, let's just say, romantically violate my dead body and eat it. Or wish I got hit by a truck because I said 2 fictional characters didn't hook up in lore. I slept on Warframe for the longest time, and I, like many other Destiny creators, are finally seeing the beauty in the game. If you were a Destiny player watching this video, I highly suggest giving Warframe a try. Some of you may have tried it years ago and didn't like it. I was the same way. I tried it years ago and uninstalled pretty quickly. For me, I just didn't want another grindy game. I was already jumping back and forth between Destiny, Borderlands 2, and the pre-sequel. But with Destiny not in a great spot and the removal of RNG elements that brought a lot of us to Destiny in the first place, Warframe scratches that itch. And while my hope is Destiny will recover, I cannot lie and say that it will. So if you are missing out on some of those special elements, give Warframe a try. Warframe is a lot more fun like Destiny with other people. So if you're looking for more players to play with, trade with, or a community clan, feel free to join my Discord and or Twitch streams and say hello. Now that we've gotten that all out of the way, which game has the better story? I started playing Destiny around 5 months after The Taken King was released. Had just moved back to the East Coast from California and wanted to game with some friends that no longer lived in my hometown. I became enthralled in the story right from the start, so much so I was that annoying friend who would keep bringing up things I read in lore that I knew my friends hadn't read. I'm pretty sure they even had a group chat without me discussing how annoying it was for me to keep correcting them or how they were tired of hearing about the story. But you know, that happens. Look at me now. Yay. I was hooked not just because of the great gameplay, but because of the world that I was discovering. Also, that cutscene of the Exo Stranger walking away, yeah, that really did it. I'm a butt guy, I'm not gonna lie. And if history was honest, most wars were fought over a nice butt. Maybe some of you hate butts. For how many of you simp over Savathûn in the Destiny community, you're not beating the butt hater allegations. That thing is pointy and just not there. The most basic version of Destiny's story is as follows. The game is set in a universe where humanity has encountered the collapse of the Golden Age, a period of technological advancement and interplanetary exploration, thanks to the arrival of the Traveler. The Traveler brought prosperity to humanity, helping them colonize distant planets and achieving unprecedented technological advancements. However, this period of prosperity was followed by the fall of the Traveler's protection, leading to humanity's downfall. The game's main character is called the Guardian, one of the last surviving members of humanity and servant protects the last city on Earth. The Guardians are revived by these things called ghosts, which all came out of the Traveler like seeds, which searches for dead bodies to resurrect and turn into powerful soldiers that help, once again, fight for humanity and the Traveler. Now, if you don't know anything about the Traveler, it's a massive orb in the sky that provides Guardians with their powers. The Traveler is mostly dormant, kind of hanging out above the last city in the sky after this cataclysmic event known as the Collapse stripped humanity of much of its power and knowledge. The Traveler was attacked by what was called the Darkness and fell silent. The Guardians are resurrected by beings called ghosts that go around just reviving dead people. You know, just just hanging out. These ghosts are instrumental in guiding Guardians, providing them with information and facilitating their connection to Traveler's Light. Without these ghosts, Guardians would have no power. As the story unfolds, the darkness becomes more and more relevant to the storyline and unfolds. We finally see what's behind the curtain of the darkness. The darkness, as we knew it, is a force that seeks to destroy and unmake, while the Traveler represents life and creation. The Guardian's role is to defend the Traveler and protect humanity, but as the game progresses, there are more hints that the line between light and darkness may not be as clear as it once was. That was a very, very, very brief summary of Destiny. I'm just trying to go broad strokes on this so that people can enjoy the story for what it is. I understand if you know a lot about lore like myself, oof, that was probably hard to hear. But for someone who's never seen Destiny's story before, that is a good overview without giving too much away. Obviously, there's a lot more details were left out, but I don't think any of us want to watch an 11-hour Fife video right about now, kind of early in the day. But it was just to touch the basics and in case someone had never played Destiny before. But if you have played Destiny before, you do know that the lore goes much, much deeper. And like I said, I'm just trying to not give too many things away, not too many spoilers for each game. There will be some minor spoilers towards the end of this video, but right now I'm just trying to give broad strokes. Now, a brief summary of Warframe's story is Warframe is set in a far future solar system where the last remnants of humanity and various alien factions and different factions of humans are in a constant struggle for control over the remaining resources. The solar system is divided amongst many, many different factions, and Warframes serve as humanity's defenders. Warframes have mysterious origins as they were created as weapons to fight in an ancient war, but were put into stasis for centuries after the war ended. The Origin system, which is what the solar system is called in Warframe, and they've all been overrun by these different various factions. Now that's very, very broad strokes of Warframe. I'm going to be honest, Warframe is a little harder for me to summarize, mostly because I am newer to the story, unlike Destiny where I've been diving into that for 8+ years. Warframe I've only really been getting into for the last 5-6 months. And unlike Destiny, Warframe doesn't really have a set path. And I'll get into that more later in the video. In Destiny, you knew what the end goal would be from the very start. Protect the Traveler, stop the darkness. Destiny's story was always on a linear path, and I'm not saying that as an insult. I very much enjoy Destiny's story. Warframe's story is a lot less linear, more world building. While I think the general themes of Destiny are broader, and Warframe is more personal, the stories themselves are inverse. How I would describe Destiny is similar to Harry Potter. When you open the first book of Harry Potter or watch the movies, you know that by the time the last book, the last movie ends, Voldemort will be defeated. The path the story took from the very start doesn't change. Each book has its own plot point, but even those plot points are pushing towards the obvious conclusion. Warframe's story is more like Star Wars novels. There are hundreds, if not thousands. I don't know. I've never read a Star Wars novel. I talk to women. Just kidding. Just kidding. It's totally okay if you read Star Wars novels. That was a cheap joke. I apologize. Don't come at me. Don't post it on Twitter. I love Star Wars fans. They're the greatest fans on earth. And not toxic at all. But there are hundreds, if not thousands, of Star Wars novels and stories. And while I don't believe they are canon anymore, they are all set in the same universe, to my knowledge. Some stories are about a planet and what's going on there. Then this story might be about a space station. This story might be about something else. And then they'll have these different characters that'll drop in and out of different stories. But each story is building the universe, not an end goal. And I think both are good in their own ways. I will be honest, I prefer Destiny's story because I understand it better, but I believe both have value and neither are better than the other. Even without reading the greater lore of Destiny, I find Destiny's story much easier to understand even in game, where I will be honest, I have no idea what I did or what the story was before Second Dream in Warframe, almost 30 hours into my playtime. Example, I know the name Alad V, but I have no idea if I've defeated him in game yet, what his purpose was, or if he had any effect on the story. I may not have defeated him. I know I got this Mutalist Alad V thing in my foundry that I can't find the nav coordinate for, but I'm pretty sure he was unmutalist before he became mutalist. So I don't know. Whereas I know the very first boss I beat in Destiny, Sepix Prime, had one of the biggest impacts on the overall story of Destiny. If you don't believe me, I do have a YouTube short on this page that breaks down the butterfly effect of Sepix Prime. But you know what? I'm just going to break it down very quickly right now. Sepix Prime was the main servitor of the House of Devils. Axis Prime was kicked out of the Devils for suggesting they stop worshipping servitors and the Great Machine. Upon Sepix's death, Axis returns to take his throne over the Devils once again. He asks the Devils to find great technology where they find Siva. Aramis was a part of the House of Devils during this time where she learned to hate servitors. Fast forward a few years, Aramis tries to find Siva in the abandoned tower and sends her people in, which is the 0 Hour mission. We stop her, so she goes to Europa to find power and claim stasis and starts siding with the Witness. We defeat her and turn her into a very ugly popsicle, and years later she thaws out and rejoins the Witness. She takes over the Warsat network, forcing Rasputin to sacrifice himself and leaving us defenseless. In our defenseless state, the Witness brings the entire Black Fleet to Earth and the Traveler, where he eventually finds his way inside to enact the final shape. All this domino effect started with us defeating Sepix Prime, the first boss in Destiny. Now from here on out, there might be some story spoilers for Warframe. Warframe community is very particular if you mention anything about their story without a spoiler warning. So I just wanted to give that up, that from here on out, watch at your own risk. So does Alad V have any impact on the Ballast storyline? Or the Man in the Wall storyline? I don't believe so. I don't believe any of the early bosses do. Now, once again, I'm not saying that is a bad thing. Each game is going about story in a different way. Each of Warframe's stories help build out the universe. While not everyone is important to the grand scheme of things, it helps make the universe feel more alive. How I see it is Warframe has a deeper in-game universe, where Destiny has a deeper storyline. To get that deeper universe feel with Destiny, you have to read all the lore. So I am saying all this as someone who has actually read around 95% of the Destiny lore pages. Warframe has a much better gaming universe, but Destiny has a much better gaming story. When I first started playing Warframe in August, my Twitch chat told me to ignore and not worry about the story until I got to Second Dream. That is when the real story happens. Heck, some people said that I was in the tutorial until Second Dream. I don't believe that's true, but that's what I was told, was that Second Dream is the defining thing. You're in the tutorial. Just crazy to me. There's no way that's a 30-hour tutorial. In Destiny, almost every moment matters in some way. I do understand that Warframe went through a lot of changes over the years and things were added to flesh out, but my point still stands. What I think Warframe has done really, really well is keep their story going. In June, Destiny released the final shape, the big conclusion to their 10-year story. Bungie did next to nothing to keep players interested in what the story will be after. In fact, I have no idea what comes next. Final Shape ended, and for a lot of people, that was the quitting time as it was a just conclusion. But Destiny isn't over. And this summer, a new saga will begin. But Bungie did nothing to help bridge that gap to keep players interested. You have some small hints, but nothing major to really keep the general player engaged and wanting more. In fact, most of these hints you wouldn't even know unless you did like secret audio logs or read some of the lore and knew about some of the characters that are still out there in the outskirts of the universe. Warframe, in contrast, did set things up in between their big stories. The first major storyline was the Ballast arc, but before Ballast was put in the grave, the Man in the Wall was being hinted at and vaguely shown in game after Chains of Sorrow. And it seems that whenever we finish dealing with the Man in the Wall storyline, a Tau storyline is being hinted. So Warframe has done a great job keeping the players interested in an ongoing story. As much as I prefer Destiny's overall story, I think they did a lot of harm not preparing players for what comes after the Witness, after the Light and Dark saga. I understand they wanted to keep players focused on their 10-year journey, but I feel it may do some harm in the long run. Warframe could keep adding stories and building the world out. And like I said, I don't think either story is better. While I personally enjoy Destiny's story for the ease to understand and the more direct path they took, Warframe's desire to world build with their stories and not take a linear path is a nice change of pace. Each have their function and serve the type of game that they are going for. I think both Warframe and Destiny 2 could do a little better job setting up the new player experience, because while I started Destiny before the real new player story was removed, the Red War, Warframe didn't make a lot of sense to me early on. To be honest, in some ways, it still doesn't. Like, who's this Vor guy that keeps showing up on Lua missions and the Void. Like, I don't know, just some corrupted Vor. Don't know who he is. He just talks to me every once in a while and then like belittles me. And honestly, like, I'm okay with being belittled. Like we all got a little bit of shaming kink here and there, but at least let me know who this is. I want to know what's going on, so I should know like how excited I should be. And all jokes aside, I'm going to chalk that up that maybe that's on me, that I don't understand some of the earlier story elements. I blasted through Warframe story and was in Steel Path in exactly 2 weeks. I was in and out of Cetus so fast you would have thought it was my ex-girlfriend. The only thing I knew about Fortuna was toaster people lived there. And Damo's storyline was the family drama, and 50% of Daughter was kind of cute. I do know a bit more now that I've gone back and explored the places, but like I said, my chat just kept telling me to rush the second dream and ignore everything else. And I think that was bad advice. And any person who may pick up Warframe for the first time, take your time, enjoy it. Yes, I tell my people to get through the story quickly, but that's because they want to play with me. And they can't really do that unless they have all the planets unlocked, and some can't do Steel Path with me. But if you're really just trying to vibe, go at your own pace. But just know that the story doesn't pick up until you're about 30 hours into the game if you focus only on the star chart. If you go off and do your own thing, it may take even longer, maybe even 50 plus hours until you get to Uranus. If you're thinking about playing Destiny 2 for the first time, ignore everything Shawhan says. The very first vendor you meet. Nothing he says or does has any weight on the rest of the story. It'll take you about 2 to 5 hours, and you'll do the first DLC that hasn't been removed, Shadowkeep. That is where you'll start moving on the story path. Also, fun fact, Shawhan is a cursed loser. There's lore where he basically went on Tinder to find a fire team because he couldn't stay on a team. And then there's some other lore about him being cursed with an Ahamkara. Just a little fun fact, because Shawhan kind of sucks. I mean, seriously. You know what? I'm going to go on a tiny bit of rant here. I'm going to rant here. This is off script. I'm going on a rant. Why did Bungie think it was a good idea to introduce new players to a Guardian who immediately gets his fire team killed? Like, how is that? How is that a good introduction? Hey guys, the first person you meet is a terrible team lead. Terrible. Oh, and then you have to go do fetch quests for him because, he's got to stand there and look off into the ocean right there and just say, oh my god, that's a cool little dreg. And don't even get me started. He's wearing great hunt gear. Okay? Wearing great hunt. He didn't do that raid. I did that raid. I did it. My Guardian, not Shawhan. He wasn't there. He wasn't there at all. He was over on Tinder. Okay. Whew. Just don't like Shawhan. Don't get me started on Nimbus. Nimbus is even worse. Don't even get me started on Nimbus. Or Hawthorne. Okay, back to the script. I did ask a member of my Discord, a mod of mine, who is a very new Warframe player. I think he's only been playing for 4 to 6 weeks. And he also started Destiny after Beyond Light, so after the story was removed. And this is what he had to say when I asked him some questions. Warframe was hard to understand early on. There was a lot of yada yada talking until I got to, I think, the heart of Deimos' questline. That is when things really started falling into place and ramping up the story for me. As I started in Destiny after Beyond Light, so I didn't feel that loss like most people did with the removal of content, I felt as a new player I could quickly understand the story. I then asked him which story was easier to follow as a new player. Destiny's was much easier. I had a fairly good grasp on what was going on right from the start. But Warframe, having never removed any of their content, so at least the full story is still there. And that's, like I said, one of my mods and what he had to say. I think that about wraps it up. Neither story is better than the other. Each one has pros and cons, and at the end, a lot of it comes down to personal preference. Some people may enjoy the more linear combat story, and others might like the more flowing nature and world building of the other. If you watched this video and came in hating one or both of these games, I encourage you to try them out. Maybe they won't be for you, but there is a reason why 11 years later they are both still standing. Yes, I know Destiny 2 is not in a great spot right now, and maybe one of the worst spots it's been. But make sure you subscribe so you can hear my thoughts on why Destiny is failing in my next video. Thank you all for watching the video, and remember, you are always welcome in my community, Discord, YouTube, or Twitch.